Hello there, you guys, and welcome back to this Old Masters for Young Players series. Yay! So today we're going to be taking a look at Sarabanda by Giuseppe Tartini, who lived from 1692 to 1770. What was going on in the world during that time? Does anybody have any thoughts? Comment down below. I'm a music history nerd and would love to know what you remember of this time period. So, anyway, we're going to be taking a look at this little beautiful piece. The link is in your Patreon post if you're on Patreon. Hello. This is your weekly lesson. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you're just watching this a little bit later. And the link for this etude is in the YouTube description. So for those of you on Patreon, there's also a very helpful, hopefully, attachment with all my fingerings and bowings and all these things. We're going to go through that today just verbally, and I'm going to show you a couple things here and there. Before we do this, though, this is going to be in two parts. The first part is the beginning to the repeat today, and then the second half will be next week, where we look at the middle repeat to the end. But before we get started with that, I want to just remind those of you on Patreon and tell those of you on YouTube that there are some group classes that you can attend on Zoom with us on the Patreon community. They're every other Thursday evening at 7:30. It's also our little practice time. So if you need me to hold your hand while you practice, or if you have any questions, you can come to that class, bring a cup of tea, and I will show us a fun little mini lesson, and then we'll give all of us time to individually practice what we need to practice. Sometimes we just need a little helpful encouragement. There's also, at the end of the month, our virtual studio circle, which is our community time to just check in and see how everybody's been doing during the month, and also provide a little spotlight time, because it's hard to and scary to perform, and sometimes we just need a little safe space to just practice sharing what we've been working on, whether it's something that's chiseled out or something that's a work in progress, or you just want to say hello, unmute yourself and say hello and just play your open strings. Find what works for you. But that's our virtual studio circle the last Friday of the month at 7:30. The last commercial is that I have a guest artist class. One of the reasons why my channel is called Violin, Viola Masterclass is because way back when I had this vision of being able to invite guest artist teachers to come and teach master classes for us. And so I have been doing that for the last year or two. On Patreon, you can join the Take the Cake tier and get access to all of these things, but we'll probably have a guest artist, since I'm not sure when you're going to see this. I'm recording this in a little bit in advance because I'm going to be doing some traveling, but there will be a guest artist class for you in the middle of the month sometime. Usually I try to do it on a Thursday evening. We have had a music history professor come talk about the medieval time period. We've also had, or will have, a classics and archaeologist professor come talk about the Delphic Oracle and the ancient world with us. That will be interesting. And hopefully in the future we will have a guest artist teacher who is actually the author of one of our favorite books in the studio, and I can't remember her name at the moment, I'm so sorry, but I will link that below the book that we really love. It's not the Cantigas book. I know we love the Cantigas book, but anyway, there's just some interesting things that are happening over on Patreon for those of you on YouTube. I just want you to know, because so many of you have followed me for so many years, and you don't know that there's all these wonderful things happening over there on Patreon. So I'd love to see you there. Go check it out. The links are below on the YouTube description. And for those of you on Patreon, hi and yay. And I hope to see you sometime this month. That will be so fun. So let's jump into this Sarabanda. So I'm going to play you the first part, and then we'll go through it together. So a Sarabanda typically has a stronger beat 2. And if you look at the music, you'll see that oftentimes we have the longest rhythm of the measure happening on beat 2. So so pretty. So, a couple things. A sarabanda, you might remember we've done a sarabanda before with the Old Masters series, but a sarabanda is an old Baroque dance. So it's that kind of dignified, slow-moving sarabanda. And if you remember, according to the Peters edition of the J.S. Bach cello suites for viola, it's said that the sarabanda was initially like a really sensual dance that was illegal at one point. Like it was outlawed, I think, in the French courts because it was too sensual. But it eventually kind of morphed into this dignified kind of stately-esque dance, I guess. So anyway, the reason I did the repeat this time was because I wanted to show you, hopefully, you heard it, that the second time I'm trying to change it dynamically. So I'm trying to play it a little bit quieter with a little bit less bow and more in the upper half of the bow. So I've marked that just second time pianissimo in the upper half. Before we get into some fingerings and things, let's just scan the first part and see if there's anything I've forgotten to say. The tempo, so it says largo con espressione, and largo is pretty slow. So I've written down quarter note equals 50. So 1, 2, 3, bum, 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 bum. Okay. Any other little things here and there? Line 3, there is più forte, there's a crescendo to forte. And I've made a little note to try to move the bow a little closer to the bridge there so that you get a brighter, stronger tone. We've talked about changing the contact point a little bit recently. So try moving the bow towards the bridge. And then on line 4, right before the repeat, we've got poco rit. So we're going to just slowly slow down there. Okay, so fingerings. Fingerings. At the beginning, and also I've changed the bowings as well. I don't know if I actually did these bowings or not, I forget. But it actually helps to start this on an up bow to really bring out that stronger beat too. So, versus. You can do what you want. What's written in there is to start on a down bow, but if you want to be extra original, try starting on an up bow. And then you can do this nice little lift there versus. I'll leave that up to you what you want to do. So fingering wise, you don't have to do these fingerings, but I put some second position and third position fingerings in there just to be able to talk to you about some ideas for shifting and why one might shift rather than just staying in first position. So at the beginning, if I just keep it in first position, versus going into a second position, it's all happening on one string. So it's like there's no color change there. It's like one little idea, musical idea there. So how to find second position out of the blue from the very first note. It can be tricky, but I have a trick up my sleeve for you. So all you're going to do is you're going to put your first finger in first position, and then you're going to shift a half step because we have a B flat. So you're going to shift up a half step. So we're going to shift up, not to be natural, but to B flat because that's our key. And then this is B flat, C, D. So just practice half step and then, can you hear the percussiveness there? And with time, you'll be able to kind of just find it right on the fly, but you can always slide up there and nobody will know, you know? So we're going to come back down to first position in measure 3. So let me start at the beginning again. So I'm trying to show you the slide. I'm on the third finger, and then I need to get down to second finger. So I'm going to slide on the finger that I'm on, I'm going to shift, I should say, on the finger that I'm currently on. And since I'm currently on a D, I need to get to the note C so that I'm in first position. But I'm not going to completely shift all the way back down. I mean, I'm going to shift all the way back down, but I'm not going to play it that way. So that way my second finger just takes over the note. So that's a little tip. When shifting, shift on the finger that you're on to take you to the finger that you need to get to. Okay, let's see. Here's the second line. We're in first position. We're going to do an open G and go to the third position G. That way we can kind of vibrate and get this really nice tone there. So what I'm doing with my bow is I'm trying to get to the tip of the bow and not really use very much bow at all on the open string. Because I don't want to emphasize. I'm trying to hide it. So see if you can use that little decrescendo there to help you with your shift and your little color change there. So in this measure, here we are in third position. And the notes are ascending and crossing the strings. So they're getting brighter. So it's kind of a natural crescendo. You can maybe just even add your own, go into it. And then a finger replacement shift. So I'm on my first finger here, back to first position, and out comes the third finger. And you see how actually I have the hand pattern for the key. So all my fingers know where they're gonna go. And I'm gonna go up to third position for the fourth finger here on measure or on line 3. And you can see to get there, I'm on the second finger, but I'm going to use the second finger to get me to the fourth finger. So whole step to C, whole step to D, there's the E flat, there's the F. So you can see every time I will get it. Especially if my arm has memorized those distances. Go back to second position. I'm going to first finger for the note F, but I'm currently on a B flat, so I'm going to shift back from B flat a half step to A, G, F. Now on the repeat, you are going to be ending up at the tip, hopefully. Just stay there. And see if you can play in this really delicate, gorgeous fingerboard-ish sound. So with that, you guys, I hope you have fun with this one. Enjoy it. Practice it this week. And maybe those ideas that we talked about with shifting and why we might shift and how to shift, hopefully those little ideas will go along with you in your practice and in your playing. And I will see you next week where we look at the second half. And just remember that this music is supposed to be played with piano. There's a piano accompaniment as well. So go befriend a pianist, and I will see you all very soon. Take care.